Sorry, I was still getting used to my setup. I hope this microphone is working. By the way, it says it detected it, so it's my first time using this microphone live, um, and it's definitely the better microphone. So if it is working, you're hearing something much better. So I'm practicing my Iceberg script. I'm practicing a lot of things. I haven't really had an official, professional YouTube setup yet, and I'm trying to get there. I'm really trying to get there. So one thing is just getting arrangement that I like. So sorry this is a bit rough, but I mean it is practice. So the universe and science phenomena iceberg is one that I found recently on Reddit in the icebergs uh, subreddit. I mean that's where you find this stuff. And I liked that it had only about 33 entries while also ranging pretty far and having some stuff that would like I could really expand upon while explaining, but also I could kind of keep it short so people would have some room to go do their own research and find out stuff on their own, which I think is the best part of an iceberg is that you find out so much stuff, but you also find out how much you don't know. And then you can go find that out yourself if you want. So the universe and science phenomena iceberg that is like not quite, I'd say, pseudoscience. It's more that it's just there's a lot of phenomena in there that's unexplained, and sometimes the explanations are in the realm of pseudoscience. Just a second, I'm going to go get some soda, and then we will get down to business. Oh, I hope that didn't look too awkward. Oh, I hope that didn't look too awkward. I'm like still really getting used to the whole YouTube setup. So yeah, I need my soda. Gotta have that caffeine to have the brain power to do these icebergs. So this one I'm probably going to be posting in two parts. I'll be posting the first part sometime this week, probably, since I have almost all of the script written. I have what looks like 6 entries left that I need to write. Everything else is done. And the 6 entries left don't have like a whole lot going on with them since they're like unexplainable celestial incidents. Not a whole lot to say there. It's like, this big bang happened and then we didn't know why. I will talk about the speculations and such. I'm going to also fill up my water because I don't want to settle down and then run out of water. You know how it is. Honestly, there's like a lot of stuff I have to deal with right now, which means I can't really have this be set up the way that I want. So what I figure is that this period of YouTube, if you're here, then you're getting the early Felix. You're getting you're getting a real peek behind the curtain to see how it all works. And, I don't know if that'll be the same whenever I get a little further along with making videos. I don't know if I'm going to keep doing things like this or I'll be different, basically. So if you like this sort of thing, great. Cherish it because it might not last. But if people like this sort of thing, I'll just keep it like this. I don't know. All of this is new to me. All right, so the big thing about the iceberg, well, it's big for one, but the iceberg, let's kind of start off. I'm just going to go find the script and then start the script. So I'm using Twine to organize my script. I have that in another window, and I just kind of start the game, the Twine game, where the script starts, and then link all the little things from there. So, of course, there'll be slides whenever I do in the final video. You're just getting the script. Hello, and welcome to the Universe and Science Phenomena Iceberg. I'm Felix Warren, and I'm here to walk you through it all, from unidentified flying objects to the speculative origins of humanity itself. This iceberg was found in the Arctic Circle Iceberg Charts Reddit. This iceberg was found in the Arctic Circle of the Iceberg Charts Reddit. That reads rough. Yeah, it helps. It helps whenever I read through the script ahead of time. I can do some edits now. So this iceberg was found in the Iceberg Charts Reddit. I'm just going to not make a joke there and just let it be there. All right, and then I'll go ahead and reload this. All right, now let's try again with the script edited. Ugh. I have like asthma or something. I don't know what. Hello, and welcome to the Universe and Science Phenomena Iceberg. I'm Felix Warren, and I'm here to talk you on the way to the courthouse. I don't know. Hello, and welcome to the Universe and Science Phenomena Iceberg. I'm Felix Warren, and I'm here to walk you through it all, from unidentified flying objects to the speculative origins of humanity itself. This iceberg was found in the Iceberg Charts Reddit, just floating around, waiting to be explained. Just floating around, waiting to be explained. It was made by user Anon Marak. The link is in the description. Thanks for posting your iceberg. That sounds so robotic. Thanks for posting your iceberg, citizen. This iceberg was found in the Iceberg Charts Reddit. It needs to be subreddit. I keep on wanting to say subreddit, but it says Reddit right there, so I trip. Let me just put subreddit. This is the most work I've ever done on a script for a video. I've never done this much work on a script. People do a lot of work on their scripts for videos. I've just done almost everything off the cuff. So I've never had a chance to really do script work and run through it. So thanks for, I don't know, the live stream kind of helps me do this. I just find that is true, and that is true. I'm gonna cut off the light. Sorry, it's a little bit weird now. Let me see if I can get this a little bit better. A little bit, maybe. Yeah. But yeah, I'm having a little bit of migraine trouble with light right now, so if I could not have the other light on, it would really help me right now. Sorry about the visuals. It's actually one of the ways that it's really hard for me to do YouTube is because lighting is really hard for me. I have yet to figure out a lighting arrangement that I can really stand long term that lights me well for the people who are watching. I think eventually I'm just going to figure out something to do with cameras that'll work for everyone, but until then, it's a struggle. So let's start. Hello, and welcome to the Universe and Science Phenomena Iceberg. I'm Felix Warren, and I'm here to walk you through it all, from unidentified flying objects to the speculative origins of humanity itself. This iceberg was found. Levels explanation. I'm not actually going to say that out loud. I'm just kind of clicking on it right now. I really like to organize things, so I decided to label the different levels of the iceberg. You can see my additions here. You could if you're watching the video. Not only have I labeled the main 3 levels, but I've labeled some sub-levels since the 2 bottom parts have so many topics in them. The main chunks of the iceberg are the surface level, the subterranean level, and the abyssal level. We'll talk about the subdivisions when we get there. Okay, let's start at the top. Surface level. Welcome to the surface level. At this level, you've probably heard of most or all of these topics, and maybe you can explain them a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and explain them all. Okay, explain is too much there. Surface level, edit. This level, you've probably heard of most of all these topics. I'm just going to leave it at that and not give a whole. Shorter the better. This isn't even the part that people care about. Welcome to the surface level. At this level, you've probably heard of most or all of these topics. I'm going to go ahead and explain them all to catch you up on anything you've missed. So put on your snowshoes and let's go! UFOs. UFO stands for Unidentified Flying Object and refers to any phenomena in the air that defies identification and sometimes even any explanation at all. A UFO can be anything from anomalous weather to secret defense technology to, hypothetically, extraterrestrial visitors. The term can sometimes carry stigma with it since it has been associated with sensationalism and tabloids. Thus, the term UAP, or unidentified aerial phenomena, has gained popularity in recent years, especially in recent use by the US military and government. Too much recent. Just in use by the, especially in use by the US government. Sorry, I had the thing do something weird. Okay, recent years, especially in use. There we go. Sorry, the editing takes a little bit sometimes. Program gets a little weird. Thus, the term UAP, or unidentified. Thus, the term UAP, or unidentified. Slow down. I'm going to start over. UFO stands for Unidentified Flying Object and refers to any phenomena in the air that defies identification and sometimes even any explanation at all. A UFO can be anything from anomalous weather to secret defense technology to, hypothetically, extraterrestrial visitors. The term can sometimes carry stigma with it since it has been associated with sensationalism and tabloids. Thus, the term UAP, or unidentified aerial phenomena, has gained popularity in recent years, especially in use by the US military and government. Other terms have been used for various reasons. Notably, when describing UFO sightings on the job, US military operatives often use the term bogey. There have been reports of UFO-like activity as far back as history can go, and the further back the history is, the more difficult it is to determine what it is that people witnessed. Further down in the iceberg is the Nuremberg event, which occurred hundreds of years ago, still has no official explanation, and likely never will. Conclusive evidence that a UFO is anything besides Earth hardware or weather anomalies is still being searched for today. The US government has for a long time seemed to have a policy of secrecy on UFOs, something the public became accustomed to. The US government has had. I want Coke. The US government has for a long time seemed to have a policy of secrecy on UFOs, something the public accustomed to since the mid 1900s. Project Blue Book was a US military research project on UFOs that occurred from the 1940s to 1960s, with little information released afterwards to the public about the phenomena. Since then, the US government has been evasive on discussion of UFOs, not only because of the stigma around talking about little green men, but also because of the likelihood that secret defense hardware, either allied or enemy, could be the explanation for some UFOs. Recently, though, there's been a new attitude of transparency regarding UFOs, aided by pressure from members of the US Congress who feel the public deserves answers, resulting in public hearings on the subject. The Pentagon has now established an office to track UAPs. The office is known as the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, or AARO, and was established within the Office of the Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence and Security. UAP footage was released of objects the US military has filmed recently that it has no explanation for. Thus far, the Pentagon has reported that it has found no evidence of extraterrestrial origin for any phenomena, but the AARO's investigations are still ongoing. Just an aside, I'm making these entries like pretty neutral. I'm not adding like the amount of sarcasm I believe should be emphasize on some places when it comes to the U.S. military being forthcoming about anything. I'm trying to be like, I don't want to say a neutral source here, but if somebody wants to make a judgment on either side of history, they have plenty of room to make that themselves. I don't need to help them. Fermi paradox. In the summer of 1950, legendary physicist Enrico Fermi and his peers were having a lunchtime walk, conversing about the possibility of extraterrestrial life in the universe. Conversation meandered to other topics as they sat down to eat, but Fermi brought it back to aliens with an outburst of, "But where is everybody?" Everyone at the table knew what he meant without having to ask. Where is all the other life in the universe? There are two ways of looking at what is now popularly called the Fermi paradox, though this was not the first group of people to examine this particular phenomenon. I need to expand upon that right there. Excuse me, sorry. Um, I think that kind of sums it up. So let me reload. Ways of looking at what is now popularly called the Fermi paradox. Though this was not the first group of people to examine this particular phenomenon, it is simply named for Fermi because of how well known he is. Okay, so I need to break those two apart. Those aren't even the same sentence. Gosh, it really helps that I started reading this out to really feel out where the script needed work. I think having it live, even if nobody's really there, helps me kind of read it out somehow. I don't know why. All right, let me try it again from the top. Where is all the other life in the universe? This was not the first group of people to examine this particular phenomenon, by the way. It is simply named for Fermi because of how well known he is. It is simply named for Fermi because of how well known he is. There are two ways of looking at what is now popularly called the Fermi paradox. Wikipedia summarizes them well, so I'm just going to quote it. Let me start over. I need to get the momentum back. The Fermi paradox. In the summer of 1950, legendary physicist Enrico Fermi and his peers were having a lunchtime walk, conversing about the possibility of extraterrestrial life in the universe. Conversation meandered to other topics as they sat down to eat, but Fermi brought it back to aliens with an outburst of, "But where is everybody?" Everyone at the table knew what he meant without having to ask. Where is all the other life in the universe? This was not the first group of people to examine this particular phenomenon, by the way. It is simply named for Fermi because of how well known he is. There are two ways of looking at what is now popularly called the Fermi paradox. Wikipedia summarizes them well, so I'm just going to quote it. The Fermi paradox can be asked in two ways. The first is, why are no aliens or their artifacts found here on Earth or in the solar system? If interstellar travel is even possible, If interstellar travel is possible, even the slow kind, nearly within the reach of Earth technology, then it would only take from 5 million to 50 million years to colonize the galaxy. Relatively brief on a geologic scale, let alone a cosmological one, since there are many stars older than the Sun, and since intelligent life might have evolved earlier elsewhere, the question then becomes the galaxy has not been colonized already. The second form of the question is, why do we see no signs of intelligence elsewhere in the universe? Even if such civilizations are rare, the scale argument indicates they should exist elsewhere at some point during the history of the universe, and since they could be detected from far away over a considerable period of time, Many more potential sites for their origin are within range of observation. Now, there are some potential explanations for the Fermi paradox, and in fact, explaining the Fermi paradox is kind of the point of it. It's a thought challenge. So here's a good list of the explanations for I'm ad-libbing too much here. I need to add some script here if I end up ad-libbing like that. I actually talk about how there's a talk about what I was talking about just now later in the script. So let me just read out what's here instead of ad-libbing it. Here are some potential explanations for the Fermi paradox. Extraterrestrial life is rare or non-existent. Extraterrestrial intelligence is rare or non-existent. Intelligent alien species have not developed advanced technologies. It is the nature of intelligent life to destroy itself. It is the nature of intelligent life to destroy others. Civilizations only broadcast detectable signals for a brief period of time. Alien life may be too alien. Colonization is not the cosmic norm. Alien species may have only settled part of the galaxy. Alien life is already here, unacknowledged. While sometimes it is used as an automatic debunking tool in debates and budgetary requests, the Fermi paradox was not constructed as an argument against the existence of intelligent life out there in space. It was an observation made out of genuine human curiosity. But where is everybody? It's a compelling question, one that helps drive and contextualize the search for conclusive evidence of someone out there in the void. Ancient astronauts. Some artifacts being proposed as depictions of aliens seem to be someone trying too hard to explain what could just be an art style, but many artifacts remain unexplained and ancient aliens remains. That's out of order. Oh, that must have been my first notes on ancient aliens before I actually the whole entry. Yeah, I didn't clean it up. Let me delete that. That's not relevant anymore. Let's start over on the ancient aliens. Ancient astronauts, sorry. Yeah. Ancient astronauts. Ancient astronauts are the explanation for various artifacts and cultural history that have no other explanation as to their appearance and other details, or what that otherwise seems strange to some observers and therefore warrant explanation. Some of these phenomena are truly strange, Nazca lines, whereas other phenomena could be explained easily by, that's just how our culture's art looks. Usually there is some aspect to the phenomenon that seems impossible without the intervention of extraterrestrial assistance or possibly time travel. You've probably heard about at least one of these from that guy on the History Channel, you know, the one with the hair. There are a lot of these theories, so I'll just go over three of them that are often discussed. First, there's the Nazca lines, a series of megaglyphs that depict creatures if you can look down at them from very high above. That's where astronauts obviously come in. It's been conjectured that the Nazca lines could be runways for UFOs or otherwise meant as guides for communication with someone traveling in the air, with the presumption that it would be an extraterrestrial species traveling in a ship that could see the glyphs. Possibly this ship would have even helped the humans make the Nazca lines, or maybe extraterrestrials made the Nazca lines themselves. There's also the theory that structures such as the pyramids of ancient Egypt or the Moai statues of Easter Island were built with the assistance of alien technology such as flying ships. Some of these theories end up being debunked if there are scientific discoveries that turn up to explain what was before a scientific mystery. The movements of the Moai statues, for instance, have an explanation now in which the islanders were able to walk the statues across the island by rocking them back and forth with long ropes. There are various theories that aliens taught humanity the skills they used to build their civilizations, which could have been anything from language to handicrafts to advanced technological inventions. These may have been preserved in religious literature and mythology. For instance, according to lore, the Watcher Angels of the Book of Enoch taught humanity many skills before rebelling against their creator deity. Perhaps these could have been extraterrestrial colonists who got caught up in political conflict with each other before they were able to finish colonization. I just want to say as an aside, like Ancient Astronauts is one of those there where you could say so many things. So it took a lot to keep that entry like kind of concise to where somebody could just look for stuff afterward, because gosh, that's like a whole episode of the History Channel series on ancient aliens. That's a whole History Channel series, not even an episode. Ugh, God, sinuses. It's like pouring down raining outside. So of course I want to do voice work. Let's see. I'm gonna be doing summoning Saturdays later tonight, so I guess I'm warming up for that. Lost Cosmonauts. Most people know of Laika, the dog that rode up in Sputnik, a Soviet-era satellite that made history as the first occupied Terran vessel to make it into space. Laika did not survive the flight, and there's a good likelihood she didn't even survive into space. Lost Cosmonauts takes this grim and sad reality and hypothesizes the unthinkable, that the test pilot deaths in the Soviet space program did not stop at Laika. Lost Cosmonauts is a combined theory and rumor that the Soviet era of space exploration, that in the Soviet era of space, we can't do that anymore. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe weed. So this I really had to write on my own because it's a very big entry and it kind of meanders. So like kind of summing up that what the theory is, but also like this one seems very clearly that it didn't happen. I'm just saying, from somebody who's done a lot of research into US intelligence, like against Russia in the Cold War, this is the classic kind of rumor that US intelligence would spread about the Russian space program. Like this is classic stuff that would be spread as lies to debunk that they had a good space program. It's like, fine, they made it into space first, but not over, but they had to do it over a bunch of dead bodies. They must have a good space program. It's like, fine, they made it into space first, but not over, but they had to do it over a bunch of dead bodies. They must have, kind of stuff. So I really don't want people to think that Lost Cosmonauts is something that definitely happened, because it definitely seems like a Cold War era rumor made up by spy agencies. And like, I don't think it's fair to hold somebody to something that a spy agency made up about them. But that's just me. Like, there's plenty of weirdo stuff that you can find, like hinky things that the USSR did, and like you can find it for both sides of the Cold War, really. So this seems kind of below the belt to make up, you know. I wonder if this rumor spread before or after the Mercury astronauts burned up. If it was after, then that's pretty grim, yo. If it was before, then at least they didn't know yet that some people were going to die on the way to space. All right. Definitely getting some notes of JFK today. JFK reads The Universe and Science Phenomena Iceberg. Most of people know of Laika, the dog that rode up in Sputnik, a Soviet-era satellite that made history as the first occupied Terran vessel to make it into space. Laika did not survive the flight, and then there's a good likelihood she didn't even survive into space. I don't know. I think I sound like a generic radio announcer from like the 50s or 60s. Lost Cosmonauts takes this grim and sad reality and hypothesizes the unthinkable, that the test pilot deaths in the Soviet space program did not stop at Laika. Yeah. That's radio personality. That's really newsreel stuff. All right, let's take this through like the way I'm supposed to. Lost cosmonauts. Most people know of Laika, the dog that rode up in Sputnik, a Soviet-era satellite that made history as the first occupied Terran vessel to make it into space. Laika did not survive the flight, and there's a good likelihood she didn't even survive into space. Lost Cosmonauts takes as grim and sad reality and hypothesizes the unthinkable, that the test pilot deaths in the Soviet space program did not stop at Laika. Lost Cosmonauts is a combined theory and rumor that in the Soviet era of space exploration, the USSR lost test pilots in space in furtherance of the goal of being the first country to send a human safely into the void deck. The lost cosmonauts, presuming they existed, would have been test subjects who paved the way for Yuri Gagarin's successful launch into space. The exploration milestone would have come at the cost of human lives, the first human deaths in space, unreported and covered up until forgotten. Apparently, during the Cold War, there were rumors that this was the case, and those rumors proliferated wildly due to the lack of information from the other side of the Iron Curtain on what was really going on in the Russian space program. That and US intelligence operations from time to time really loved using these rumors to their advantage. Between these two factors, you have room for a rumor to really flourish. Besides Laika, there was another seed of truth for the rumors to grow out of. Oh, I didn't put there's a thing that happened with a pilot that was found in another country. I didn't write it. I put summary of pilot thing here instead of that. So I need to write that part. Well, good thing I took a dry run through the script. All right. I'll have to write that part later. I'm not going to do it now. And of course, I'm going to dry run through this, and I'm going to go through the entry on Planet X. All right. And of course, conclusively disproving something like this, especially so many decades after the fact, is really difficult when the government of the USSR no longer exists. There will likely always be someone who believes this one because of the lack of closure on the Soviet Union itself. We'll always have questions. And I think that's really fair to say because, like, they kind of purposely didn't say a bunch of stuff, and then they just went away. So, like, look into the amount of things that just sort of no longer existed once the USSR's government no longer existed. The accountability on a lot of things that the USSR didn't really get passed on to anyone sometimes, or there was just never no accountability made in the first place, and no way to really bring it to bear after they disappeared. So, yeah. The fall of the USSR was a weird time for me. It was like I was like 10 or 11 years old, and it was strange because I got brought up in the Cold War, where it was like a foundational piece of, like, it's always going to be us versus the Russians, was how it was whenever I was growing up in the Cold War, and then suddenly there were no Russians, like, or there is no USSR, but now there are Russians, but it's not like it was with them before, and it's a weird time to be told that. I was like a preteen when all that stuff started happening. Like, I'm glad I saw it happen, and I'm glad I was understanding what was happening as it did, because it meant that I got to kind of understand the history as it happened, and I didn't put a lot of prejudices down on either side. But man, it was a weird time to be alive, watching all the globes change at once. Like, yeah. All right, Planet X. You've probably heard of the concept of a Planet X, even if it's not this specific one. The idea that there's another planet out there in the solar system just waiting to be discovered by a lucky stargazer is candy for the imagination. But this Planet X isn't referring to just any additional planet that we may find in the sky. It is a specific theory that there is a large Neptune-sized object somewhere in the Kuiper belt, not the Jupiter belt. J and K are right next to each other on the keyboard. Juiper belt. That's not a thing. That's not a thing. All right. Reload, restart, re-go, reread. The idea that there is another planet out there in the solar system just waiting to be discovered by a lucky stargazer is candy for the imagination. But this Planet X isn't referring to just any additional planet that we may find in the sky. It's a specific theory that there is a large Neptune-sized object somewhere in the Kuiper belt, an area of the solar system so distant from Earth that we know very little of what's in it. There needs to be something somewhere. This is because the movements of trans-Neptunian objects, asteroids and the dwarf planets, and comets out beyond the dreamy ice giant, blah, 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 blah. Okay, can we figure out a better way to read that one? This is because the movements of trans-Neptunian objects, the asteroids and dwarf planets and comets out beyond the dreamy ice giant, indicate that something very big is in the neighborhood, affecting the movement of anything nearby with its huge field of gravity. There's definitely something out there. Planet X is the theory that the something is a planet very much like Neptune in its gravitational influence. In fact, before Pluto was discovered, scientists were expecting it to be much larger. And when it was found to be so very small, they knew that there must be something else out there that they had not discovered yet. Something that would explain the movements they were tracking in the planets and other objects they'd already found in that area of space. Planet X is only one name for this theoretical planet. Another common one in use is Prima Mobile, the prime mover. As planets must be named by the person who discovers them, there is no official name for this planet yet. So until its discovery, names such as Planet X will continue to be used for this trans-Neptunian mystery object. And that wraps up the surface level. Past this point, we're going to have to go deeper to the subterranean level. Here under the surface, we'll start talking about things that have no explanation, and when it comes to a few of them, we probably never will. Get out your snorkel. We're going to swim around the shallows first to pick off these fairly straightforward mysteries, but don't get too relaxed. Bigger fish swim down below. The Carrington Event. The Carrington Event was the most intense geomagnetic storm in recorded history, peaking from September 1st to 2nd, 1859, and created strong auroras that were reported globally. Multiple telegraph stations caught fire due to sparks generated by the event. The geomagnetic storm was most likely the result of a coronal mass ejection from the sun colliding with Earth's magnetosphere. This was a sun flare, a massive one. A very bright solar flare was observed and recorded independently by British astronomers Christopher Carrington and Richard Hodgson on September 1st, 1859. Unknown to each other, they jointly made the first records of a solar flare. The Carrington event was well documented because of how large the solar flare was, and it serves as a warning to us today. Back then, there were telegraph lines and some electronic devices, but not nearly the level of miles and miles of cables and electrical lines crisscrossing the globe. A geomagnetic storm of this magnitude occurring today would cause widespread electrical disruptions, blackouts, and damage because there's just so much equipment that could be affected by such an event. Eventually, humanity will need to figure out how to prevent such disasters or to have advanced technology on this planet for the long term. Real talk, if we have another CME like that, it's gonna suck. It's gonna suck so bad. And, I don't know how we're gonna handle it. Just saying. So let's see. Past this, I think I may cut it short here. Because this, I really need to work on the script a little bit. So I'm gonna kind of just wrap it up. But yeah, this is what you're gonna be hearing when it comes to the iceberg. I have let's see. There's gonna be the abyssal level where there's actually about 13 entries total, 14. So actually about 16. I'm probably going to be doing this in a part 1 and part 2. Part 1 is going to be the surface level and the subterranean level. And then part 2 is going to be the entire abyssal level. That's just how big the abyssal level is. It's half this iceberg is as big as the other 2 parts. So yeah, expect that. And then afterwards, I will stitch both videos together in one mega video. So if somebody wants to just watch the whole thing through, they can. That's the format that I've typically seen with icebergs, is that you have the parts and then you have the whole thing. And it doesn't hurt to have a big long video on my channel that can up my watch hours, I'm going to be honest. So anyway, I'm going to close it up. Check me out later. I'm going to be here for Summoning Sunday. It's going to be on Sunday, so it's not Summoning Saturday. And I'll channel then, and it'll be fun. Later.